Watch out, Atlanta, Georgia. The Tigers are on the way.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast, live edition with my man, Daryl Dapprich. And we got so much to talk about, gloat about, celebrate about, and maybe exhale a little bit about. We're going to jump into all that shortly, discussing Auburn's Sweet 16 appearance, big win over Creighton, the rebound from game one, everything that goes along with the first weekend of the tournament. But before we do that, got to give a quick shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Use coupon code TheBarn25 to take 25% off. If you live in the state of Alabama, you can go to any Publix. If you live in the Birmingham area, any Piggly Wiggly. If you don't live close to either one of those, get on that website and save big. Use that coupon code. Southern Style Salsa, Auburn family, Auburn fans, you can show them some love. You can support them as well. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. It's good, y'all. That, my man. How we feeling, brother? Sweet 16 bound.
I'm feeling good. And let me tell you, I got home late last night, was out of town, got a late flight back in, was hungry, had a little frozen burrito. That's all I had to eat. Very fast. Guess what I put on it? You
just lathered it up with Uncle Keith's Red Sauce.
It made a frozen burrito even taste like I was eating at a Mexican restaurant. So yeah, that's how I celebrate. It's either nachos, all the big wins.
Yeah.
I throw little Uncle Reds on there. So yeah, I was
fiesta. A little fiesta with the salsa.
You got a party. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I think the word exhale is a really great adjective that you described, because with everything that Auburn accomplished this year, the number one ranking that they carried for so long, winning the SEC title in the historically toughest year of the SEC, being the number one overall seed, Kyle, it would have been very disheartening.
Yes.
And very embarrassing, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? The pundits, and if Auburn didn't get out of the first weekend. And I think getting out of that first weekend frees them up to play the kind of basketball I think that we saw them play earlier in the year, because we saw it coming against Creighton. We started to see the glimpses of what Auburn was a month ago. And I think this frees them up to be free and easy. It's a burden lifted off of them. It enables them to play, I think, more loose, better. Of course, all these games matter now. You're in the Sweet 16. You want to advance to the Elite Eight. But just getting to the second weekend, I think is going to propel them, because it is a deep sigh of relief, and it is something that they got a weight off their chest.
I'm glad you said this, because this was one of the first questions I was going to ask you, because I feel the exact same way, and I don't want to feel like a loser. Or like I'm soft or something over this. But I mean, it really did feel like there was a huge amount of pressure on this game Saturday. And now I honestly feel like after the attitude change, the effort change, it feels like now that, like you said, that weight is completely lifted. And now it almost feels like whatever happens now, it puts Auburn in a better situation to maybe make a run, because you don't have to play as tight. You don't have to play with that, you don't have to play with that burden, because honestly, Daryl, the first game was ugly. The first game it felt like a lot of the same that we've seen over the past 4 or 5 games. And quite frankly, I'm going to be honest, I was expecting a loss Saturday if nothing changed. And I think we talked about this off air. If that same effort, if you put that same effort against Alabama State, against Creighton, they'd probably run you out of the gym. And if it weren't for effort and as hot as they were in the first half, they absolutely could have run Auburn out of the gym. But that didn't happen.
No, and we took a lot of shots, Zach and I did, on the post-game show, with people saying, you don't know ball, that Auburn was bored. Of course, teams sometimes struggle in the first round. And I said, look, Nobody is saying that a different Auburn won't show up against Creighton. Nobody is saying that Auburn won't be better and won't play harder. But the effort they gave for about a 7-minute stretch in that Alabama State game, a stretch like that will bury you against the 9 seed, and especially against a team shooting what at one point, they were at 70% from three, which you knew that wasn't sustainable. I knew it wasn't sustainable. So I'm thinking, okay, in the second half, even if I told Zach when we did the show, if Auburn holds Creighton under 40%, they win double digits. I don't know what the final shooting percentage was from 3-point land, but I do know that it kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And if you remember, they did the same thing against Louisville. They hit 9 threes in the first half against Louisville, and then was 2 of 8 in the second half. And I said to somebody that was sitting next to me, listening to the game, if they go 2 of 8 in the second half against Auburn, Auburn will bury them. So fortunately, the defensive intensity picked up, but there's nothing wrong with saying the ifs and buts and can. If Auburn would have played like they did against Alabama State, they looked disinterested. They looked sloppy. They didn't look locked in. There was some infighting.
They looked like they hated each other.
And I don't
sounded like it after the game.
It did. And I'm glad that Stephen Pearl said what he said, and that Dylan Cardwell said what he said, and Bruce Pearl said what he said, because when a lot of these non-ball knowers were fans that were coming after us that just started watching basketball 2 years ago, got offended by that, I was like, well, then you better go talk to your head coach, because your head coach feels like that effort was subpar. And Bruce Pearl said, we play like that against Creighton, we'll get beat. That wasn't coach speak. He felt that. He meant that. And it was true. It was absolutely true.
Just to go back to your point on Creighton shooting, they did hit 9 threes again against Auburn in the first half, and they finished with 12. So Auburn definitely locked them down in the second half. I got to say, that 6-minute stretch from about 11 minutes to about 5 minutes where Auburn held them scoreless was one of the more impressive stretches of basketball maybe all season to me. That just think about that contrast. You go from hitting 9 threes in the first half to you go 6 minutes without scoring a single bucket. And then you got the whole Ashworth deal where, they can't guard me. And then from that moment on, I think he didn't score again until like it was trash time points at the end of the game. It's just, guys, I think you understand it, and I think maybe some people do as well. The attitude change from that first game to the second game is, y'all, it's night and day. It's night and day. Whatever was said in those team meetings after the game resonated, and I think, I've even been told it was even more intense. They were celebrating, obviously, but I think Johni even apologized even more after the Creighton game. Hey guys, I'm sorry. I'm going to be better. And I was proud of him from the standpoint that he still did the dirty work. Even though his shot wasn't falling. It looked like 2 different teams. It looked like a team playing selfish, a team playing for their own selves, to an actual team that looks scary to me, in my opinion.
And I was getting a little bit. A lot of times people try to talk them into things, the copium, and Auburn saying, fans saying, well, look what happened in 2019 with New Mexico State. Listen, I don't mean this disrespectful in any way, because I was the play-by-play announcer for Alabama State for 5 years in every sport. New Mexico State is not Alabama State, first of all. That 2019 New Mexico State team was a 12 seed. Alabama State was a 16 seed. New Mexico State was a
16 seed.
Yes, and New Mexico State was a much better basketball team. So for Auburn to squeak by on that one as a 5 seed, or I think they were a 5 seed that year, is completely different than being the number 1 overall seed in the tournament and playing the worst 16. So there's no comparison. Now, that being said, Auburn didn't beat Alabama State by 2 points. They beat them by 20. And I think the second half was a little bit of an indication of what things could come. You make a great point about Broome. Because if I would have told you coming off of the game against Alabama State that Johni Broome was going to have 8 points, I'd have thought Auburn was in trouble.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the NCAA tournament, just like it was in 2019 for Auburn when it made its run, is very guard-centric. When you get into these big gyms, these cavernous arenas, guards make a difference. And Auburn's got 4 of the best right now. And they're playing – all do different things, all step up at different times. But I felt like Pettiford and Chaney Johnson were going to be able to make a difference coming off the bench because of depth. I mean, remember, Kyle, Creighton has 4 guys that play 31 minutes or more. They average. And a lot of the Big East fans and Creighton fans jumped in there and said, you guys know what you're talking about. We're used to that. I thought to myself, you think you're used to it, but this ain't Xavier. Okay. You're about to find out there's a big difference, and they did.
Yeah, Kalkbrenner played 38 minutes. Neal played 37. Ashworth played 39. Jackson McAndrew played 33. I mean, and then, Jason Green, he rotated in with that Zujic. But yeah, they have a very tight rotation. And I think, honestly, I'll be honest, I think they ran out of gas. I really do.
Yeah,
I think Auburn kept leaning on them. Thank you, whoever drew up their defensive game plan that gave up the floaters. Whatever the defense was, don't let them shoot threes and don't let them get in the paint. But if they want that little floater, let them have it. Thank you for that, because we had an absolute field day with those little mid-range jumpers. It's kind of old school. It was kind of like old school basketball, wasn't it?
Zach used to make fun of me because Jalen Williams made a living off of that. The mid-range jumper, Kyle, is a lost art. No one wants to shoot it. They want to dunk on your head or they want to shoot the 3.
Yeah.
And the floater in the lane right inside of the elbow is there all year because no one defends it, because nobody shoots it. So why do you defend it? If you take advantage of that, and God bless Tahaad Pettiford for doing that, and Chaney Johnson does it too. Auburn's got 2 guys that like to shoot the mid-range jumper right inside the elbow. And I'm telling you, it's points, and they add up, and they absolutely help you win games.
100% agree with this comment. Auburn played mad last night. I agree. I think there was something about the edge that they had last night that's different. I think you got to go, honestly, Dap, and correct me if you think I'm way off, I think you got to go all the way back to the Kentucky game to see Auburn play a game as mad or as intense on both sides of the ball as they did last night. I mean, is there a game in between I'm missing? Because I don't feel like
no. I will say this: looking back now, Ole Miss is absolutely taking Iowa State to the woodshed right now as we're recording this.
Yes.
So maybe that Ole Miss victory in the first round of the SEC tournament to beat them the 3rd time, like Adam Sandler would say, not too shabby. That's 3 times beating a team that's probably going to the Sweet 16.
Yep.
So maybe we pump the brakes, or that Arkansas win that everybody kind of dogged a little bit, Sweet 16. You just boat raced Kentucky on their home floor 2 weeks ago. I mean, I'm just saying it looks a lot different now when you get perspective and you get that bird's eye view.
It does. It does. Possibly having 7 SEC teams in the Sweet 16 is just insane. Before we jump to the next topic real quick, go to mybookie.ag. You still got time to sign up and get this back half, get the Sweet 16 action. Use coupon code BARN, get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000, and get in that sports book and have some fun. It's mybookie.ag. Dap, if you had to pick a player of the game, who would you pick for the, talking Creighton right now? We didn't talk about the Alabama State game. If you had to pick a player, who would it be?
I went away from the obvious Pettiford choice like everybody else did on the live. I went with Chad Baker-Mazara. Here's why. Hadn't played the same since he got ejected against Alabama.
Yes.
He came back and had 17 points. Had he not got shot in the hip from a sniper from the 3rd level or whatever happened to him, he probably breaks the 20-point plateau, right? He had 17. He came out early. I think he gets 20. Not only that, they looked different when he was on the floor. So for me, I love what Tahaad did, but I think the bounce-back nature of what Chad Baker-Mazara did and the fact he had to leave the game early, that probably would have put him over 20 points. He was my player of the game.
I think he could have scored 30, Dap, and I'll tell you why. What's this kid's name? Jackson McAndrew wanted no part of him. He could not. He could beat him. And I don't know if I texted the group or who, but I felt like off the dribble, Chad could beat him to the hole every single possession, and he did for the most part. I saw a knee. I think he caught a knee in the ribs.
He did. It's like a hip pointer. He got it in the hip, and he also got it something similar to that in a game a few games ago. So it's like a reoccurrence, and like I won't repeat what Pearl said about the bony nature of his posterior, but it is if you don't have a lot of fat on you. Like if I was playing basketball and someone did that to me, it would just bounce right. It wouldn't even bother me. But if you're bony like that. That hurts. That's bone on bone, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's one of those deals that, thank goodness, guess what? Here's the beautiful part about this whole setup. Auburn doesn't play for 6 days. They have 6 days to rest, get in the ice bath, get in the hot tub.
I think they just released it. We play the early game on Friday.
Yeah.
We play at lunch on Friday, I think.
So, yeah, I wish it would have been later in the afternoon, but that's all right. I mean, they still have 6 days. And that's going to be very beneficial for Broome and for Chad Baker-Mazara. Denver still, I don't feel like, of course, a lot of people this time of year aren't 100%, but I feel like the longer you go between games because of that quick turnaround right after that. See, it's amazing to me how Auburn looked fresher and better after 2 days rest than they did 6 days rest. And that's kind of like working out the rust and the kinks, but whoever's playing – Alabama State played a game 2 days earlier. They were a little bit more – I think they came out – they were a little bit more in tune, a little bit knocked the rust off. Whoever – with Auburn playing Michigan Friday, both teams, 6 days rest. So we'll see.
Let me ask you a question. Be honest. How were you mad or were you excited when Denver did the night, or did you think it was a little too early?
I thought it was a little too early, but I'm a fatalist. I get
I thought about you as soon as it happened.
I got to get over that fatalistic attitude and that old school attitude. I don't mind doing that. It's just do it late when it's absolutely in hand, because Creighton had run their mouth a little bit and, upwards basketball coach saying they can't guard me. I get it. But
the assistant golf pro at your local.
Yeah, the assistant, exactly, at the local muni.
Yes. His last name's Ashworth. That's funny.
Exactly. That he's got his own clothing line. I think that just wait a little bit later for that. That's absolutely out of, because you don't want stuff like that to come back to bite you. But yeah, that and one was one of the biggest plays in all, not only in Auburn's season, but really in Auburn's, and this is a really cool stat. And this is so weird because people could, kind of accuse me of being an old, but this is relevant. I remember this is the first time Auburn has won its first 2 games in the NCAA tournament by double digits since 1986.
Wow.
Now, a young Daryl Dapprich, who was about to graduate from high school, watched the first game that Auburn played in that NCAA tournament against Arizona. And, of course, I was on a different side of the fence back then. Arizona, like Creighton, hit every 3. They looked incredible. And I looked at my best friend at the time. I said, dude, Arizona couldn't play any better, and they're up 4 only. I looked at somebody that was with me Saturday, and I said, Creighton can't play any better, and they're only up 2. And so that symmetry right now, then they just Auburn in the second half went on a big run. So it's impressive that all the basketball lore that Auburn has had since 1986 and the success, the 99 team, this is the first time since then they've won their first 2 tournament games by double digits.
It's fantastic. Talking about Denver Jones, like what a night. 5 of 8 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 3 of 3 from the line, and the biggest bucket of his career so far. The little hesitation at the end to get Neal in the air, and then to somehow get it up in the air with enough spin off the glass to go in. And then he does the night. I'm like you. There was a part of me that loved it, and there's a part of me like, God, look at the clock. What's the clock say? Okay, it's a minute and 10 seconds or something like that. So maybe it's a little bit out of reach. But man, what a fun night! What a fun night! It does feel like it feels like you can breathe now. It feels like the burden's been lifted, like we mentioned earlier, and now you got to go take on Michigan in Atlanta, where you've just been honestly utterly dominant. The last Big Ten team you played in Atlanta, you beat by like 40 points. I think that was Ohio State. Let's talk about Michigan for a minute. I honestly don't watch – I have not watched much of them other than watching some highlights of Trey Donaldson. but some crazy storylines with this game. I mean, first off, you got Trey Donaldson. That's the obvious. Charles Barkley can't say it enough. He played at Auburn last year. But then I forgot Danny Wolf. Danny Wolf, the Yale big last year that scored 13 points on us in that loss. He's been really good for Michigan this year, averaging almost a double-double, a true 7-footer that shoots, 30, a little bit over 30% from three. They got some pieces that I think could probably give Auburn some issues, but I just love to get your thoughts on the matchup.
Yeah, I have actually, because Auburn had such a great year this year, one of the things I really enjoyed doing was once the head was in the barn, so to speak, like today, watching the Sweet 16, when Auburn's already in, there's nothing sweeter. Well, a lot of times the Big Ten plays their games on Sundays. So I would still be jacked up wanting to watch basketball coming off a high of the day before with Auburn. So I would watch a lot of Big Ten basketball. I watched a lot of Michigan games. And the obvious is the Twin Towers. They have Golden and Wolf, who are 2 7-footers, who are very dominant underneath, but they're very slow-footed. Just going to be, they're not athletic. They're cumbersome. They go over the back a lot. I think Broome, Cardwell, and Chaney can take advantage of that with their quickness off the block on them. That's one aspect. And I think that Golden is a fouling machine and Cardwell is a fouling machine. So let them cancel each other out.
Erase the 5 on that.
Yeah, get one off the floor. Get them both off the floor. I think it's going to come down to guard play. I really do. I think that Broome is so good passing the basketball and finding the open wing, finding the cutter, that he will have his way, I think, with Wolf down low with his quickness. But even if Wolf does a good job of sealing Johni Broome off, he will find the open wing guard on that skip pass. Love Trey Donaldson. He's been playing at a high level, but Auburn's got 4 that can beat you. And I just think from a guard play standpoint and neutralizing their bigs because they're a little slower of foot and making them move their feet on defense and guard you is going to be a problem. Now, Auburn can't play stupid and get in foul trouble. If Cardwell gets quickly in foul trouble or Chaney does coming off the bench, that's going to be a problem. If Auburn just doesn't leave their feet on these bigs, the quickness. And you know what they also do, Kyle? I watched a lot because I watched 4 Michigan games. Golden and Wolf love to bring the ball down low. They love to bring the ball down before they go up. Hopefully Burgo is scouting that, and Chaney and Chad and Johni strip that, and then Auburn's in transition the other way.
You mentioned it earlier. It feels like the athleticism of the two teams is totally different. It does feel like Auburn's vastly more athletic, and maybe Michigan plays a little bit more old school type basketball. So it's going to be a two competing styles. And I'll be curious to see what Michigan does to try to slow down the Auburn offense. And then I don't care what style you play on defense. These guys are going to play. This Auburn team's going to play defense. And like you said, as long as they can defend without fouling, especially the bigs, because they do have 2 bigs that can give you issues, especially if you get in foul trouble. So it should be fun. I think I saw the spread already open up somewhere around like 7-8 points in Auburn's favor. In Atlanta should be a good one. And then if you're just looking ahead past that game, I think I just saw that New Mexico's whooping up on Michigan State right now, and then Ole Miss is just dominating Iowa State. So could you have the 4th rematch, possibly the 4th matchup of Ole Miss in the Elite 8 if you get past this one? That'd be pretty.
Yeah, I think. Exciting. What is that? The way the NCAA does it, there's a certain you can't play a certain team 4 times unless you get into a particular region. That's how they set it up. So I guess it is the Elite 8. I don't want to play anybody 4 times. I'll
take Ole Miss for the 4th time.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I think New Mexico.
They look good right now, then.
Yeah, people are like, New Mexico, Pitino's son is the coach at New Mexico. It'll be interesting, one other aspect, to see if Michigan does what Alabama State did, what Creighton did, what all the other teams that had some success against Auburn did, playing that 1-2-2. That 1-2-2 zone, if Michigan tries to play it, I don't think they have the quickness to pull it off like some of these SEC schools do. And the other thing about that 1-2-2 is what you and I talked to, the elbow jumper, the mid-range jumpers there all day long with a 1-2-2. So we'll see. And it's going to be I cannot wait to see what Auburn draws up defensively. you know that they know what to do against Donaldson. It's one of those double-edged swords, okay? And I'm telling you right now, I don't care what anybody says, love the kid, he's going to be pressing. Yeah. If you don't think he's going to play at a higher gear to try to
show you
something, I'll show you. And it's already inherent pressure in this tournament. It may make him a little bit tight in this game.
For sure, for sure. I want to ask you this, Daryl. Mm-hmm. So after game one, what were you if you just could cut your brain off afterwards? Okay, after game one, what were your expectations as far as Auburn in the tournament after the first game?
I felt like Auburn was going to be pressed to get out of the Sweet 16. Like, I still felt like they could get by Creighton, but I felt like, okay, if they get by Creighton and play like Creighton plays bad, doesn't play 2 good games in a row, they have a letdown. Auburn doesn't play great. They kind of play mid, but they win because of depth. I thought to myself, they're going to have a hard time, in the second weekend. I feel completely different about it right now.
Yeah, that was going to be my second question. After the attitude change, the effort change, after the come to Jesus meetings, probably literally after the first round, your expectations with Auburn moving forward, how are you feeling now?
I think there's a really good chance, no matter who. I think Auburn should, even though Michigan, I'm not in any way taking them for granted. I think the matchup, I think Auburn with its quickness and its guards gets by Michigan. And then after that, why not get to the Final Four? I mean, why not string 2 together in a place where you boat raced Indiana last year and you boat raced Ohio State this year, and you really play well in that arena and you're comfortable in that arena? Why not? Get by Michigan, and then anything can happen regardless of who you play in that Elite 8 matchup. And it looks like, what if Auburn has to play, somebody else besides Iowa State or Michigan State or whatever? I mean, I think that's sometimes when that happens, it's kind of becomes your year.
Exactly. I'm going to be honest, and call me whatever you want to call me, but after that first round matchup and some of the things that we heard from some mutual friends that were sitting right behind the bench, I didn't think we'd get past Creighton. I thought that was going to be it. If that same team came back out and nothing was remedied, we were going to be a 2 and barbecue pretty quickly and going back to the house. But with the emergence of Rad Chad back, Rad Chad was back, not Sad Chad, since the Bama game, like you mentioned. This team is just completely different. This is the team that I felt like I did not care what the seed was. I did not care what the matchup was. If we could get to Atlanta or really honestly anywhere, there was just nobody that I feel like this team can't beat when they're playing like this, when they have this kind of fire, when they have this kind of drive. I don't think there's many teams out there that Auburn can't beat. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. Like I said, we got the Friday game at 12 p.m. So we'll be done pretty quick. We'll be done quick, and we'll get to watch a lot of basketball up until I guess Sunday. We'll probably get the late game on Sunday, I would imagine, which will be nice. So shaping up good for the Tigers.
It really is. And, I guess is that 12 Central or is that 12 Eastern that people are saying? That does matter. I know for people that are going to go over there or try to call in sick Friday and watch it.
Let's see here. Let me go to Friday. It still says to be determined. So it says to be determined on the ESPN app, but I've seen people in the comments say we got the 12 p.m. game. So yeah, I hope y'all aren't leading us astray. Because it's kind of hard to check stuff like that
while we're doing it. Yeah. Interesting. So, I think that they're in a situation, again, I don't underestimate that 6 days. Those 6 days are going to be a big help to get Broome. And look, there ain't no way on God's green earth that Johni Broome is getting single digits 2 games in a row. So buckle up, Michigan, because Johni Broome's coming Friday as well.
I think so too. And like I said earlier, from what I understand, he had a big apology tour after this last game, and it feels like, maybe some fingers were being pointed at him, and it kind of, resonated, I guess. So he's if we get Johni back to where he is, and you can get that 20 and 12 out of him, it's going to be a long night for Michigan. So, Daryl, thanks for jumping on. So much fun that we're talking about going to the Sweet 16 and not talking about an early exit again. The monkey's off our back, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Now we can play some basketball. So tell them how they can find you, support you, and love on you.
Follow me on X, DAP6410, Instagram, Daryl Dapp. I'll be on with Lindsey Crosby tomorrow morning on Locked on Auburn. Just kind of filling in for Zach, who's a little under the weather, and then my normal appearances on Locked on Auburn as well.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5. Appreciate you listening. Like the video if you like it, like the channel, or subscribe to the channel if you like the video. And we'll be doing this every single day this week. A lot of basketball shows with Zep. Got a show with Taylor Korn later this week. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for listening. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. We're going to the Sweet Daggum 16. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.